It's funny, we're on football now. We're talking the start of one season. We haven't had a chance to talk about the end of one, which was the Sioux Falls Storm, who won their 9th Indoor Football League championship. Well, 9th championship overall. I guess it's only the 5th IFL one. But I want to say this was an unexpected one because you always expect they're going to contend. But with everybody they had lost, I mean, this is the first time they've won a title where Terrence Bryant or Chris Dixon wasn't the quarterback. So they really had a lot of changes. This was not... And to go 15-0, no less. There was a little bit. I didn't necessarily expect that.
I'm not sure I did either, just because of the fact that they were starting anew, and we thought Martavius Young actually was going to be the quarterback. Lorenzo Brown did a nice job. I don't know that he was. He certainly didn't play to the level of a Chris Dixon, but he played well. He had some great components, kind of like Teddy Bridgewater with the Vikings. He had a lot of good people around him, and that makes a big difference.
We forget they lost their MVP, too, midway through the season when Harrison got the tryout in the CFL, and then they bring in a guy from Boston College who picks up the load.
Right. But the one part of this team that always seems to get overlooked every single year, because we're talking about Terrence and we're talking about Chris, is the defense. Their defense this year wasn't the most dominant defense they've ever had, but it sure was really good at the end of the year. You look at some of the low scores they had that are unheard of in arena football. Unheard of. To give up 11 points in a game.
And that was against Cedar Rapids. I think had this one or two offense other than the Storm in the conference, and the same with Nebraska the following.
And that was 36-12, I think. Yeah. They had another game where they gave up 11. Yeah, it was like 87-11. But that's crazy to give up 11 or 12 points in an arena football game. I'd bet the mortgage that would never happen. But this team got better and better and better. Corey Johnson loved his teammates. He said they were very, very unselfish. There was nobody on the group that cared how many sacks they got. They raised a lot of money, by the way, in their sacks for cash. But this was a really good group. And I almost think the defense is really why they were so dominant this year. Not the offense. The offense was good, though. I love watching Judd Harold. He caught a couple dozen touchdown passes.
I'd almost venture, too, that a lot of those points they did give up on defense were garbage time points, because in a lot of I remember seeing in third quarter, fourth quarter, there were 13, 20 points, and then you'd see maybe somebody tack on an extra TD or two. So
true, but in arena football, there's not like a second string.
Yeah.
There's only.
But when you're up by 50-some points, I think it's a little natural to let your foot off the gas.
I don't think those guys did that. No, I really don't. I mean, you're talking about guys that take great pride in what they do as a unit, and I know what you're saying. That would be the natural instinct to do that, but I don't think Curtis Riggs will allow that, and I don't think they self-police themselves to allow that either.
There will be changes coming to the team. Obviously, a couple guys you alluded to it, Corey Johnson, James Terry. Some of the familiar faces were retiring anyway, but there's going to be an expansion. We're going to see 2 new teams. They're going to go to 16 games, so it's going to be a longer season. The big change is this veteran rule where they're now saying you can't have more than 7 players who've had 3 or more years of experience on your roster. They took a league vote. The only team that dissented was, of course, the Sioux Falls Storm, so would seem like it's a rule kind of designed to get maybe the rest of the league somewhat competitively balanced. But when we talked to Curtis Riggs after their championship wins, he's like, well, they keep finding talented players. I think this year was proof of that they found guys who weren't their longtime stalwarts, yet they're still able to plug them in. It's going to be different, but with the way they're run, I don't see any reason to think they're not going to find a way to be just as successful within that rule.
Oh, I agree. It's the coaching staff, it's the organization, it's the winning tradition. Guys want to play, if they're going to play arena football, they want to play on a good team. They're going to play in the finest facility they could ever play in now with the Premier Center. And I think, knowing Curtis as well as I do, I think he's going to look at this as kind of another new challenge to conquer,
I was going to say, because it's gotten to the point, even this year, where you didn't necessarily expect them to be this dominant, where you're expecting them to win the championship. Some of the most fun you and I had watching was early in the season when they had some of those close games. So I'd love to see the rest of the league at least rise up and see somebody kind of rival them. I mean, Nebraska's kind of close, but they can't quite get over the hump against them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the games are a lot more entertaining when they're closer. Curtis would disagree, certainly, but I think the fans are kind of the same way. I think they enjoy competitive games, maybe not super close right to the end. They're more fun to watch, but you always like to think your team's going to win, and it's nice to have a little bit of a cushion. But the 87-11 games, nah, those aren't much fun for anybody, really.
Any more things you want to wrap up with here as we close out July and a lot of the kind of the summer months?
Boy, I don't know. You know, it's been a struggle for the Canaries. They've just had a rugged summer, despite the fact that some of their players have had pretty good years. Brian Humphreys has turned out to be a really good player. David Bergen's turned out to be a really good player, both for power and for average, both those guys. The pitching staff just hasn't gotten it done. They'll score 9 runs and they'll give up 10.
It kind of flipped because early on the pitching was really good, and then the hitting just wasn't there. And now when they finally get the hitting to where they want, the pitching has kind of burned out.
Yeah, and I'm hoping the Twins can kind of pull up the bootstraps and reverse things here a little bit. They've been struggling since the All-Star break a bit, and I think they had the best record in the league at home.
One time, yeah.
And that maybe has gone away, but they've still got control of their own destiny, and they're in control of a wild card spot. And I think they've overachieved. I've said that since the beginning of the year, but I believe in them now. I really do. I think they've got the kind of a team without making any big changes that could do something.
I was going to say, should they do something? Tomorrow's the non-waiver deadline. I know they can, of course, make trades into August, but
right.
That's kind of the question that's occupying people. I mean, I don't think you should, because obviously this team's kind of built more for the future. Like you said, they've overachieved. I mean, I know Kansas City went to a World Series and was within, a hit of maybe winning that World Series a year ago, but I just don't think you mortgage anything that you have coming up on making a run for the second wild card.
I wouldn't make any major changes. I think they need help in the bullpen. I've said that all along, is if there's a weak link on this team, it's getting to Glenn Perkins.
Who's even struggled a little.
Oh, he blew a save. Come on, give him a break. He had, 28 or 29 saves in a row. Don't be one of those guys. People have been all over his case going, what's wrong with Glenn? Well, my gosh, he's a human being. Once in a while, a pitch hangs a little bit and somebody smokes it.
Well, that's where I would say maybe they need that next reliever, because he's had some maybe some of those 2-inning saves are starting to add up a little bit.
Yeah, you don't want your reliever, you don't want your closer going more than an inning. You really don't. Maybe an inning and a third if he's got to come in and finish the 8th inning when they got the bases loaded or guys on second and third. And saves are a little overrated anyway. To me, the guy that gets you out of that jam is more important than the guy. Right. Sometimes that's more important, and that's what they don't have right now.
Well, obviously, we'll be hopefully talking about the Twins deep into September, but we started kind of our football previews with the Vikings today, and as we start moving along here the next couple weeks, we'll start talking SDSU, USD, all our colleges in the Northern Sun, the NAI, and of course the high school. The North. Well, I said the NAI, so
yeah, right.
And I'll say that about last year. That was one of the things. Other than a couple of teams, last year was really good for college football in this region as a whole. You had Northern State had a good year. USF was great. Augie had a nice year. SDSU, Dakota State, Wesleyan, Northwestern. Very strong year for colleges last year, and of course the high school game always kind of reloads itself every year.
Well, and Presentation had a really good year for a team that Andy Carr just started from scratch about 4 years ago. And Josh Anderson got Dakota State into the winning column last year for their first winning season in quite a while. They were 6-5. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about for football, but we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, we got plenty of time leading up to it, although it does come by. This came too quick for me, almost.
Tommy Vining, by the way, winning the state match play in pretty dramatic fashion too. That's worth noting, because he won it in 38 holes, that's a lot of golf for somebody that plays 100 holes of golf in one day. It's like, but
you play 100 a week.
100 in a day for junior achievement. It's a little different stress level when you're playing in a state tournament. It's a grueling. I think he played 122 holes, something like that. And that's a bunch. But if you're playing all those holes, that means you made it to the finals.
Yeah, and he's going to the Gophers next year.
He's going to the Gophers. He's going to be a really good player in college, I think. He's and Lauren Fitz too. She won the state women's match play over Haley Getz.
Both SDSU.
Two really good players. Lauren's Dakota Wesleyan.
Oh, she's Wesleyan?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's their top player. She's from Brookings, but she plays at Dakota Wesleyan. Haley's from Pierce. She plays at South Dakota State.
So both kind of their home courses in essence.
Yeah, in essence, yeah. You could say that because they played at Lakeview and Mitchell. But we've just we've had some great athletic stuff happening this summertime.
Yeah, we'll start. Obviously, I think they play more of their golf season in the spring, but that'll start up once the colleges get going here with the fall seasons as well. And again, it's a lot's going to start happening here in the next few weeks, and we'll, as always, have you covered. So for Mark Ovenden, I am Zach Borg. Have a great day.